When I was growing up, I was taught, I think, fairly obviously and fairly early about the separation of church and state, and it would seem like that would be enough to stop religious monuments and other expressions of religious faith on government property, you would think. But this is America, and so in many states, including Florida, there's been a concerted effort by Christians to put up as many Ten Commandments and crosses and things like that as they can. And now, finally, there's a bit of pushback from atheists. So they have unveiled just this morning a monument in Florida. We've got some details on you. It's a 1,500-pound granite bench with quotes from Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and also the founder of American Atheists. Now, it might seem like, if you're opposed to the Christian monuments, you should be opposed to the atheist monuments as well. And we will certainly get to that. But first, I want to talk about the strategy behind the creation and implementation of this monument and the other monuments to come, because this will not be the last one. So we have American Atheist President David Silverman. He was talking about why they did this. And he said, we're not going to let them, they're referring to Christians who have set up monuments like this at courts and things like that, we're not going to let them do it without a counterpoint. If they do it without a counterpoint, it's going to appear very strongly that the government actually endorses one religion over another, or I should say, religion in general over non-religion. He says also that when these monuments are put up historically over the last few years, it's often defended under the idea of freedom of speech, that this isn't forcing religion on anyone, it's simply allowing different groups to put up the statues and things like that are important to them. He says that that's one of the tricks that's used because they go up and call it a free speech zone and then they're unopposed. They get their government legitimization because nobody else calls their bluff and puts something in. Now, I think in an ideal world, the counter punch to this would not have been putting up an atheist monument. I personally think that neither of them really have much to do with federal courts in the first place. I think that having neither of them would have been a good place to start. But that battle has been fought over the last few years, and atheists and non-Christians, even the ones with belief, have lost that at this point. And the Supreme Court doesn't seem to really care at all. And so I guess this was the only legitimate or possible move. And so they have an anonymous donor, by the way, that's been funding for these monuments. I don't know how much each one costs. It is 1,500 pounds, so you'd imagine a lot. But they are going to be putting up 50 in total. So there were some big dollars being dished out on this. And I should also say, so this one is an atheist monument. Now, I am an atheist. If you would expect that I would just have a knee-jerk reaction of support for it, you're pretty off base, I would say, in this case. I like the quotes that they're using. They're in no way offensive. I think that this could create some sort of dialogue about the role of religion and atheism in public. I suppose that's sort of the mission statement. But I'm not a huge fan. I think that you should go to court to have your lawsuits settled, maybe, to try to receive, or if you're on the other side, dispense justice. I think that's historically what it's been for. These really don't have anything to do with it. It's an unnecessary battle. And while I suppose, as I said, there could be the discussion, you see the atheist monument and you think, oh, I forgot, there are atheists in America. That could be a good thing. I also always worry, especially as an atheist who uses Reddit, that these sorts of displays could just piss people off. Now, as I said, they were very careful with the quotes that they chose. They're not offensive. There's nothing anti-faith necessarily in them. But I'm always worried about the possibility of harming the movement by pissing people off. So I guess I have to say to David Silverman, it's an impressive move to be able to raise that much money, and I'm sure it's going to generate a huge amount of press attention for you. But I worry a little bit that this might set a precedent that will only lead to more religious and specifically Christian monuments on government property.